Hi, hello, and welcome back to the HII Method. My name is Jen Hatz. I am the host of the HII Method podcast and also the founder of the HII Method, a holistic, integrative, and innovative approach to assessing and optimizing human health, well-being, and performance. And I'm partnered with Neuroforce One, a human performance company that has been training champions for years, and they offer training and assessments in their facility as well as remote options available. And if you've ever heard of the concept of time under tension, it actually translates to multiple areas in our life. So I love, first of all, we'll say the extended stress stimulus that is time under tension, not only physically, but then also what that does for us psychologically and emotionally. And so time under tension physically, when it comes to physical training or any type of programming where you're wanting to increase the length of time that you are under tension. And what that means is literally increasing the length of time that you are under the tension of that resistance, wherever and in whatever way that resistance is being applied. And so that could mean that you are extending a holding position when, let's say, the bottom or the top of a rep, one point of emphasis within the rep that you want to hold and really hold that tension. And this can also mean like doing something like a plank hold, for instance, and maybe wanting to hold it even longer and increase the amount of tension. Maybe you want to add some different tools or implements, different like bands, resistance bands or chains or springs. You're adding something to add more resistance. And then maybe you're holding the rep at either the bottom or the top of the rep to try to increase the overall tension that you are experiencing, the tension that is being placed, the tension that you are under or the resistance that is being placed upon you. And by increasing the time under tension overall, you're increasing what is really the amount of time that you are spending under this stressor, under this resistance, under this tension. But that time that you're spending, that increased time that you're spending is increasing the breakdown within you, this small, tiny micro tears within your muscle fibers. And it's also helping to stimulate your overall, really your stabilizers and your collagen matrix and your connective tissues and everything that is going to eventually become strengthened and rebuilt and renewed and much more resilient is because of these small micro tears and triggers that are happening kind of below the surface. And so some of that pain can be a deterrent from us wanting to experience this tension because it's quite literally breaking down these parts of us. But the concept is that the more that we can break down these parts and the more that we can, in this case, increase the time that we are spent under tension to increase the amount of breakdown, we have a greater chance to build that much more and to become that much stronger, that much more stable, that much more resilient to that stressor. And so what this does for us physically, when it comes to increasing our physical strength, our stability, our stamina, and our overall resilience to those stressors so that we can take them on, it applies so much, if anything equally, if not more, psychologically. When it comes to even just when I said that discomfort that you feel, that pain that you feel physically when you're under that tension of, in this case, like of resistance within physical training. But that mental side of it, of sticking with the pain, sticking with the discomfort, sticking with that tension and breathing through it and staying with it because you know that the tension is temporary and that what you're gaining out of it is becoming stronger, you rebuilding what is being broken down. And so you're staying in the moment with the breakdown, if anything, because you know that there's a better outcome coming out of it once you move through it. And you understand that even though you're increasing this length of time under tension, it still is in fact temporary. It's not forever. And so there's this real deep psychological kind of hole you got to dig yourself into to be comfortable under that feeling of discomfort, knowing that the outcome is worth it. But it's not just, in this case, kind of like a sports psychology, analogy there, but it also translates to other areas of our life where we may be experiencing tension in different ways, or we may be experiencing this sense of discomfort that we want to, maybe mentally, psychologically, we want to get away from this discomfort. We don't want to feel it because it's uncomfortable. But maybe there's something there, something in that breakdown that we are experiencing under the feeling of that discomfort, under the feeling of that tension that we are meant to experience in order for us to have the breakdown needed to be able to rebuild and get stronger. And so some examples of this that I've at least noticed for myself in life is like even the simplest feeling of tension. If you wake up in the morning and you know you have a busy day and you feel this like maybe tensed up vibe that you have like too much on your plate, you have a lot to handle and you don't know if you can handle it all. You maybe have a bunch of meetings or maybe you have to give a presentation and there's some form of tension that you feel where you wake up in the morning and all you want is to just zoom past the day and be right back in bed and back in that comfort zone of your bed and back in the comfort zone of not having to take on all these tasks. And so that tension then can be a really powerful trigger, if anything, for you to stay present throughout the whole day and to really pay attention to, okay, if I feel tension waking up in the morning knowing that I have a presentation to give, that's telling me something. There's something about presenting, something about whether my preparation, if I have really high expectations, maybe I didn't prepare enough, maybe I was really procrastinating, or maybe I have a real strong sense of, let's say, self-criticism or judgment, and there's a fear of, let's say, public speaking because you already have your own sense of criticism and judgment, so you're afraid of public speaking. So you feel this tension about this thing. And so when you tap into the tension and when you stay in it, and root down in it, breathe through it. And as you move through it, you'll see kind of where the primary sources were that were being broken down. In this case, once you get past the tension, once you give that presentation, you have that busy day behind you, then you can look back and say, you know what? The reason why it felt so painful was because I needed to have that experience and I hadn't yet felt that experience. It was something that was new, that was different. And so there's a little bit of fear maybe, but afterwards, after having that breakdown, the surface level breakdown there of actually going through the experience, I actually feel better. I feel more confident now having a busy day and I feel more confident speaking, public speaking, or giving a presentation. And so you can see that there's an outcome that you eventually reach because of going through and sticking with the tension. Now, here's something where this may not always be something where we go through the tension and we stick with the tension. And this can be something that is happening for us across any area of our life, but something that is maybe more chronic and much more, we'll say, subconscious, something that has been building and progressively, maybe sucking down a lot of our confidence in some ways. Maybe it's taking away our ability to take action in some places because we have this underlying tension. And so a real good example of this that I think a lot of people can immediately vibe with is this concept of maybe your financial situation, your financial security. And if you feel this sense of tension every time you have to pay bills, or if you feel a sense of tension because you have, let's say you're actively applying for work and you haven't yet received anything back and you feel this tension about it, really because there's a lot of maybe uncertainty. Maybe it's triggering something in you with a lack mentality, a scarcity mindset. Maybe there's this fear of fear of not having enough or a fear of losing what you have. And so all of this, the surface level actions that you're taking, you have this underlying tension across the whole situation, really across this whole timeline. And so instead of avoiding that tension and just continuing to, plug away, doing whatever you're doing, maybe you get tension when you pay bills, but you're still actively doing the same thing month after month, week after week. And you just are putting up with the fact that you feel this tension, but you're putting it aside and still making the same decisions. Or if you're, like I said, applying to a bunch of jobs and you feel a lot of tension because you haven't yet made some sort of progress. You haven't yet gotten an interview. You haven't yet gotten a formal, like an acceptance for a position. So wherever these points of tension are within this kind of area of your life, start to tap into the feeling of discomfort, the feeling of tension, and lean into it, breathe into it, move through it, and look at, okay, if I feel tension when I'm about to pay bills, why is that? Is it because I genuinely need to address my financial situation? Do I need to figure out my budget better? Do I need to, figure out my income to what I'm spending on? Maybe I have to increase my income. Maybe there's something else that I have to troubleshoot that I'm avoiding. And maybe the tension I feel when I have to pay my bills is because I've been avoiding the work it's going to have to break me down a little bit. I'm going to have to break myself down a little bit to figure out where this tension is coming from. But as long as I focus on that and look at it and start to piece together where it is the source of this resistance really is coming from, then I have a better advantage of taking actions to alleviate this tension I feel. Or if you're, like I said, with applying to jobs and maybe you feel tension because you haven't yet gotten anything back. Okay, where is this tension coming from that I'm feeling? I'm doing the actions that I need to be taking. I'm plugged into whatever it is that I am currently doing for my income, and I'm also trying to gain more income. And what I'm feeling is tension is really maybe a sense of impatience, if anything, or a sense of expectations not being met. Like maybe I had unrealistic expectations on applying to a job and having a job offer 2 weeks later from that job. Maybe there's something there where you start to look at what are the sources of tension that I'm, if anything, avoiding looking into. I'm avoiding staying with it and breathing through it and learning from it so that I can get better. And maybe by doing that, then you start to, if anything, you come out of that tension saying, okay, you know what? I know that I have some triggers with the timeline of maybe hearing back from a job. So maybe what I need to do to, control at least how I'm feeling in these situations is I need to make sure that I'm keeping myself busy, keeping myself as productive as possible and as proactive as possible, and to allow myself to, focus on what is within my control and to let go of the tension of waiting for an answer back from them. So all of these different kind of examples are ways in which we can lean into and stick with the tension, because that time under tension, like I said, is breaking you down for a reason. And the more that we avoid it, even if you think like in the gym, and if you're starting to feel a lot of pain when you're in the bottom of a rep and you're trying to hold it, but you're feeling pain and you want to come out of it. Well, you're going to limit yourself on what you get out of it, on what you gain from it, if you come out of it early. And if you can't stick with the tension and breathe through it and allow yourself to come out of it when the appropriate time is for you to come out of it. Because when that happens, you would have experienced the amount of breakdown that you needed to for your benefit so that you can come out stronger and more rebuilt and more resilient to that stressor. Let me know if you learned something new about this topic, and drop a comment below if you have any other questions about this topic. Otherwise, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe so we can spread the love and spread the light. Thank you. Bye-bye.